Professor from Weber State University, Utah, Dr. John Mbaku joins us to share his thoughts on the just concluded elections and the ongoing protests across the country. Thanks a lot for being a part of the program. Now, this news, is not yet to settle down among most Americans. Already we've had cases of protests in about 25 states already in the United States. Quite unprecedented. And for Trump, well, it will come as a surprise for him. But quickly now, how do you think this whole drama can affect America's relations with Africa?
Well, I think unfortunately, we really don't know. And that is because during the campaign, Donald Trump was very ambiguous in that he did make some really terrible statements that were considered racist by a lot of people in the United States and also in Africa. But the problem is that he literally dismissed Africa as a region of interest to the United States. And I think that's what is causing a lot of problems in the continent right now, because there is a lot of uncertainty associated with exactly what the U.S. is going to do when Donald Trump takes over in January. We in the United States ourselves are shocked, and part of the problem has to do with the fact that all along, and based on what the press was telling us as the election was coming to fruition, we really believed that Donald Trump was not going to be elected president of the United States. And so there was very little thought given to what might happen to those of us who are interested in Africa when the elections are over. So at the moment, we are simply trying to put our thoughts together and try to determine exactly what the Trump presidency would do, especially for Africa.
All right.
I think we don't know if you look at what he's been saying all along.
Yeah, while you're going through your thoughts, knowing about Africa, having a policy towards Africa is not a democratic or Republican thing. It is now to be expected for any legitimate candidate for the office of the presidency of United States. Now, do you think this statement holds true?
Well, to a certain extent, yes. And one of the things has to do with the fact that even though Donald Trump is going into the presidency hoping to change the U.S. totally, as he said during the election, one thing that you have to keep in mind is that the U.S. has a very strong institutional structure that makes it very difficult for one person to simply come in and change the entire country. The second issue has to do with the fact that no matter who you are as president of the U.S., in the end, you still have to do things that maximize the American global interests. And as far as I know, Africa is is a very important global interest for the United States. Number one, in terms of trade and natural resources, Africa is very important. Number two, in terms of fighting terrorism, which is very important to the U.S., Africa is also a very important partner. So no matter who becomes president, I think that person eventually will have to come to the realization that developing a foreign policy that places Africa in its proper context is very important for the success of the U.S. as a global leader.
All right. That's point. Let's leave it there at the moment. Professor John Mbaku, it's a pleasure to have your thoughts shared with us.